Welcome to the Legal Innovation Forum podcast series, Leading at the Intersection of Business and Law. In this episode, we're delighted to introduce Dennis Garcia, Assistant General Counsel at Microsoft. Dennis is going to discuss his fascinating career path and the significant role he and his teams play in supporting business goals at the technology giant. We're also going to discuss AI and the impact it's having at Microsoft and across the business world. Thank you for listening. Please subscribe to our podcast series and stay tuned for the next episode.
A quick note from our podcast sponsor. Tired of dealing with document chaos in your corporate legal department? Let iManage simplify your life. With iManage's powerful document and email management system, you'll have everything you need in one place. Secured, organized, and easy to access. iManage is trusted by 40% of the Fortune 100 and by legal teams worldwide. Learn more about iManage on www.imanage.com. Welcome to our podcast. I'm Andrew Bowyer, the founder of the Legal Innovation Forum. Today we're interviewing Dennis Garcia, who's the Assistant General Counsel at Microsoft. Based in Chicago, Dennis leads the legal support function for the Microsoft Americas Partner Solutions, Sales Enablement, and Operations teams. In this role, he serves as General Counsel to two Microsoft corporate vice presidents and their teams of nearly 2,000 professionals. Thanks for joining us today, Dennis. Good to see you again.
No, it's great to be here. Thank you for inviting me and looking forward to the conversation today.
Great, me too. So, Dennis, let's start. We just heard you've been with Microsoft for 22 years, but tell us about your career journey to date so far from day one.
Sure. Happy to do so. Yeah, no, I just celebrated my 22nd anniversary with Microsoft. It's hard to believe that I've been with such a great company and the greatest legal department on the planet, at least from my perspective. But yeah, let me start from back in the day. You know, I grew up in the New York City area, attended college in upstate New York at a school called Binghamton University, and then I went to law school at Columbia Law School right after graduating from college. And so after that, and I've had a little bit of a unique career path in that I have always have worked in-house during my legal career. I had never had the opportunity to work for a law firm. Earlier on in my career, I said to myself, well, maybe that's a disadvantage of not working, for a law firm. And then after working with so many great law firms and law firm lawyers and realizing, quite frankly, how hard they work, I said to myself, well, perhaps I lucked out being able to work with three terrific companies. But I started my legal career working for the IBM legal department after law school. I started working in Connecticut, supporting at that time a unique division at IBM known as the IBM Printing Systems Company. I worked with another senior lawyer who was a general counsel of that division, and it was a great opportunity at that time because it was just really two lawyers supporting an important business unit, and I felt that at an early stage in my career, I was provided a significant amount of important legal work. So I worked in Connecticut for a little while. IBM also stands for I've been moved. So they moved me to Boulder, Colorado to serve as the printing systems lawyer for their product manufacturing and marketing teams in Boulder, Colorado. So I was there for almost 3 years doing lots of different sorts of legal work. And then they moved me again to the Midwest, where I am now in Chicago. They moved me to the Chicago area to serve as a lawyer in the field, supporting IBM's field and marketing teams. And I worked on closing a lot of contracts and deals with some of IBM's largest customers at that time. And so I was there at IBM for about 5+ years, and I learned of another opportunity working for another terrific information technology company called Accenture. And so I left IBM and moved to work at Accenture, still in Chicago. And at Accenture, I worked there for almost 5 years and worked on some of Accenture's largest business process outsourcing deals, these large mega deals where Accenture would take over the operations from a technology perspective of some of their key customers. And so I worked with a lot of my business clients at that time in shaping and negotiating these long-term, multi-million, sometimes billion-dollar deals. And I felt that that's at the point of my time at my career where I really learned how to be a very strong deal lawyer. I worked with a number of terrific lawyers in the Accenture legal department, as well as senior partners and business folks at Accenture. So that was a terrific experience. And then I left Accenture for my current opportunity working in the legal department of Microsoft. The way I got that role is a former colleague of mine, work colleague who I worked with at IBM, who's now a lifelong friend, left IBM to join Microsoft in the legal department, and he made me aware of this opportunity of working at Microsoft to be a lawyer in the field, supporting at that time Microsoft's Central Region United States business. And so I put my hat in the ring for that job and interviewed. And back in December of 2002, I joined Microsoft. And since that period of time, I've always been based in Chicago, supporting our large sales, services, and technology organization in the field. But my role has evolved during that time. It's evolved from being more of a regional counsel, if you will, to a certain geographic segment in the U.S. Central Region, to being our lead lawyer during sort of our cloud era, if you will, several years ago, sort of helping to connect with legal and compliance decision makers at our customers to talk about our trusted cloud narrative at that time, and to try to help lawyers and compliance leaders to feel more comfortable moving to our cloud. So that was sort of like a special project which they asked me to do for a period of time within the legal department. And then I took on more of a national role, if you will, leading our legal support function to our U.S. enterprise commercial team. So my team and I at that time worked on a lot of large-scale cloud computing contracts with some of our biggest customers across the United States. And then I was asked to take on a different role supporting our partner ecosystem in the Americas. Partners, which we have, of course, are an extension of our sales force. They're very, very important to Microsoft. I also lead our what's known as our sales enablement and operations legal support function to the Americas. And then in the last few years, I was asked to take on some more responsibilities to lead our what's known as our scale solutions function, supporting our Americas business clients, where I got the privilege of leading a terrific team of program managers and paralegals who do a lot of the sort of entry-level legal support for our 10,000 strong Microsoft Americas business clients. And that has helped free up time for our commercial lawyers to do more mission critical work. And we're in the midst of also adding more AI-enabled functionality to that. And then just recently, I was asked to take on a sort of a newer role, leading our work on our big Americas deals, what's known as our strategic partnership team, SPT work, where my team and I are now working on some of the biggest contracts with our customers across the Americas. So I've been able to sort of change and evolve in my role while being in Chicago. And as I mentioned, the Microsoft legal department is the greatest legal department on this planet. And I have felt that I've learned a lot during my 22 years, and I really enjoy helping to solve challenges and issues and problems which are presented to myself and my team from our business clients. And I love being in the field, if you will, in terms of being in the trenches, helping to close deals, trying to mitigate risk or compliance issues, and really helping the business move forward with a smart risk-taking mindset.
Yeah, absolutely. Fascinating career path. We haven't had someone come on saying they have the greatest legal department in the world. So that's our podcast yet. So this is good. I want to dive into it more. But what I observe as an observer of the sector, innovative technology companies have been on the vanguard of innovation in the sector. You look like organizations such as Clock, which have ultimately come out of the Silicon Valley, founded by technology lawyers in large tech companies out there. And Microsoft, without doubt, is one of the most innovative companies of our time and has been a fascinating story. I'm sure throughout your career with them, it's had many different iterations and continues to evolve. And as we're in the AI era now, out of the cloud one, a very exciting time, a very exciting business to watch. So in terms of Microsoft writ large, a couple of things I want to talk about, and then we will move on to the legal innovation part and what you're doing in the legal department at Microsoft. But obviously, in the AI era, without hesitation, Microsoft is one of the leading companies. A recent earnings report said something like Copilot has already made 10 billion in revenue, which is a significant number, and really bolstering the case for AI because it is a heavy duty investment. There's obviously a lot of excitement in the markets about its potential. But let's talk about the AI story at Microsoft and where you're seeing that really have impact on the businesses that you integrate into and you support.
Sure. I mean, first off, when you think about Microsoft, and I'll start with our mission statement, and our mission statement is to empower every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more. So when you think about Microsoft, of course, we're a very large company. We've got about $250 billion, I believe, in revenue year to year. We've got about 228,000 employees across the company. So we're involved in lots of different solutions, which we provide to large enterprise customers, medium-sized businesses, small businesses, and also individuals. But there's no doubt that over the past 2 years or so, we've seen this sort of era of AI, come in front of us, and a lot of that has been because of our innovation, but also our partnership with OpenAI, which we put together. But one of our key flagship products, and of course I'm wearing the Microsoft Copilot shirt today, is Microsoft Copilot, which we released out to the marketplace nearly a year plus or so ago, and we're seeing some really nice adoption of Microsoft Copilot across a wide variety of entities and businesses across the globe. I will say that internally within Microsoft, we view ourselves as being sort of customer zero for Microsoft Copilot. So, all of us as Microsoft employees were expected to be power users of Copilot. And, myself and my teammates in the Microsoft legal department are really embracing sort of a newer level of digital transformation, if you will, and embracing change and making Copilot sort of the central way in terms of how we're interacting with our clients, and quite frankly, to be able to save time every day and to be able to do our work with more speed and with more productivity. So just as an example, I'm using Copilot to save me time when it comes to summarizing legal documents or involve dense legal materials that I need to review, or to help use Copilot to help analyze and demystify tougher technology concepts or issues that we deal with on a daily basis. I'm using Copilot to help me provide legal advice and counsel to my clients. Oftentimes, we spend a lot of time in Microsoft Outlook and putting emails together. Sometimes we get stuck in getting our emails started, and I've been using Copilot to help me get started in drafting thoughtful emails to my clients. And Copilot will also help me review my emails to make sure that it's more succinct in nature and really to the point. And my clients, of course, they want to work with us, but they want our messaging to be as crisp and clear as possible. So I'm using Copilot in that fashion. I'm also using Copilot to help me generate PowerPoint presentations. At Microsoft, we deliver a fair amount of presentations to our clients, sometimes external presentations, and I'll put together a Microsoft Word document, and I'll enable PowerPoint where Copilot will create initial versions of slides, which I can then use and shape and hone, and then which I can deliver out to my clients. So it's saving me time there. I'm also using Copilot when it comes to the myriad of Microsoft Teams calls that I'm part of. Oftentimes, like many of us, I have back-to-back Teams calls or conference calls, or I'm double booked. Oftentimes, we may record those calls internally at Microsoft, but I may not have the time to listen to that call in its totality. So Copilot can provide you with a transcription of those calls or the key takeaways from those calls. So I'm finding that using Copilot as part of the listening sort of process and calls process is saving me time and freeing up time where I don't have to listen to those calls on demand from beginning to end. But from our ways of working perspective, we're all using Copilot to be able to be more productive and to really importantly to save more time, which then we can redeploy to be working on more mission critical tasks for our clients. And we're finding more and more of our clients, our customers, are excited and interested in learning from the Microsoft legal department as to how we're using Copilot. So myself and my teammates have been very active in sharing out, what we're learning, how we're embracing change, what are the legal use cases which we're putting Copilot to work for us, how it's saving time. And so we're sharing that information and that knowledge, and we're connecting more and more with legal and compliance decision makers at our customers to discuss our journey and being sort of customer zero with Copilot.
Yeah, that's fascinating. So you, answered the question of where to start with AI. I think you've given me about 10 to 12 use cases right there. How transformative do you think AI is in in a business context and in a legal context? And when do you think the rubber is going to really hit the road on it to be a real game changer if organizations and within them legal departments aren't adopting it?
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, again, I'm biased being the Microsoft, professional, if you will, but I believe it's being transformative right now. That said, there is no doubt that these AI tools, Gen AI tools, Microsoft Copilot, other Microsoft AI solutions will get better over a period of time. And I think you'll see a number of these solutions get better features and functionality. From my own perspective, I'm not sure that these Gen AI tools are going to necessarily replace lawyers. I view these tools as really a tool, as a way for us to hopefully provide and deliver better services to our clients, to free up time for us, maybe to be involved in some of the more routine and repetitive tasks that lawyers have done for such a long period of time. But to me, the key component is that lawyers and business folks, as we're in this era of AI, that we have to be open to change and to try something new. And as I like to message to legal and compliance decision makers, it's important now to get started in using these Gen AI tools, whether it's Copilots or other tools you want to use. Get started now because you don't want to be left behind. Mm-hmm. So I think there's lots of great legal use cases and applications for Copilot and those Gen AI tools right now. I think it will get better over a period of time. I do think that to the extent that you could be more comfortable with engaging in these Gen AI tools and being comfortable in prompt engineering. I mean, of course, you have to be an effective sort of questioner and prompter, if you will, for these tools to yield maximum impact. And I do think lawyers and legal professionals are in a very unique position to be very good prompters of Gen AI tools, because it really requires thoughtful and precision questioning. And that's something which we do as lawyers each and every day. But to the extent that you can build that muscle to be a good prompt engineer and to get comfortable in prompting, and for your teams to share prompts which have worked with each other in the past, that's something which we do in the Microsoft legal department. As an example, we have a prompt library which we share. And we incentivize our teammates to share some of their better prompts, which have yielded stronger outputs. To the extent that you can get more comfortable in doing that, and that becomes part of your ways of working, then you're going to be in a better position to leverage and take advantage of these Gen AI tools.
Yeah. Lots of questions coming out of this, but if you were to give someone who hadn't employed, like we did a webinar called Understanding Generative AI a few weeks ago. 60% of lawyers on that, of the 500 or so listening in, had said they hadn't even tried AI. Now, they obviously come from a wide spread, it's geographical, different types of organizations, so not Microsoft. Where would you suggest a lawyer listening into this starts with getting comfortable with AI in their role?
Well, I would say the first thing is not to fear AI, right? I mean, I know there's like any technology, and our Microsoft Vice Chair and President Brad Smith, about 6 years ago, he wrote a book called Tools and Weapons, and it stands for the basic proposition that as technology evolves and advances, there are some good benefits and aspects of technology, then there are some risks, and the same for AI. But I think the key point is to try to get started with some of these tools. Don't fear these tools, whether you want to get a license to Microsoft Copilot. If you're a part of the Microsoft 365 ecosystem, I would encourage you to do that. I think there's a way to beta test Copilot as well, so you may want to start there. There's other Gen AI tools out there which may be free of charge for you to try out. I think the key part is to really try them out and get your hands dirty, if you will. You're going to make some mistakes, but I do think the lawyers who test these tools out and they try them out and they'll make some mistakes, but then they'll see some of the advantages that these tools can provide to them, whether it's freeing up time for them to do other work, whether it's providing them with information at their fingertips, which they can then use to counsel their clients. Now, with all these tools, though, I think there's a responsibility for lawyers and legal professionals to make sure you're using them in a responsible and thoughtful way, right? So you want to trust these tools to a good degree, but you also have to actively verify the output and what's coming out of them, right? I think we're going to see more and more states across the United States, countries, and provinces as well, putting together legal opinions regarding the legal ethical considerations of lawyers using AI tools. We're seeing more and more of these opinions in the United States. I think we've seen one in California and Florida, and I think New Jersey and some other states as well. We're going to see more and more on that. But as lawyers, you need to be understanding, at least from a legal ethics perspective, the risks and the benefits of using technology, AI included. So you have to be smart and thoughtful and responsible in how you use them. So it's not just the provider of AI solutions like a Microsoft embracing responsible AI, which we do with our 6 responsible AI principles and making sure that we're incorporating those principles into actual practices when we're developing our AI solutions. But I do think the consumers of these tools need to be smart and thoughtful as to how they use them. They shouldn't necessarily be fearful of them, but you got to be thoughtful and smart in how you use them, how you deploy them. And you also want to be thoughtful and smart as to which providers you select for certain tools. It's a little bit like during the cloud era where you have so many different choices for cloud solution providers. You want to make sure that you're embracing thoughtful due diligence as to which AI solution providers that you use. As an example, you want to make sure you're using a provider which is laser focused on protecting your data and your customers' data, your clients' data, and securing that. You want to make sure that their solutions are hopefully safe and reliable. You want to make sure that they're standing behind their services and being accountable. You want to make sure they're being very clear and transparent regarding what their services can do and cannot do. As an example, at Microsoft, I think we're the first company to put together a Microsoft AI transparency report last May, and we share that out. People can get access to that, where it gets into a fair amount of detail as to what we're doing specifically in the area of responsible AI, and there's a lot to that. We also embrace elements of fairness, making sure that when our developers are creating our AI solutions and their algorithms, that they're built on fairness. We have a fairness checklist that our engineers need to comply with. And we're also working hard to make sure that our solutions are as inclusive as possible and free of biases. But you want to make sure that you're doing your homework, if you will, when it comes to evaluating different AI solutions and providers. And nowadays, of course, there's a lot of solution providers out there. You got to make sure that you're working with a provider that you can hopefully truly trust.
If you had a piece of advice, because it's interesting how Microsoft's on the cutting edge here, and you say, as you say, you're sort of client zero. Two parts is one, lawyers and other businesses, the business is really pushing for the adoption of AI as a fundamental game changer for whatever business they're in, right? From the business side of things. And lawyers are kind of in a unique position because they need to identify risk, which I think you've given some good suggestions there about how you can kind of measure up risks while at the same time supporting business growth by applying AI. And the buck kind of does stop with lawyers in that regard of not being a department of no, but making sure risks are acknowledged and managed, and you're moving along with that evolution. If you had some key points of advice, because you're really on the leading edge here, how you could sort of think about that conundrum as an in-house lawyer, what would you suggest?
Well, I'd say a few things. I think number one, at least when I think of our role as lawyers and legal counselors, it's not just the law. We're also hopefully trusted advisors and trusted business advisors. So hopefully we can sort of serve as the conscience of the business, sort of being thoughtful and advising your clients as to whether or not it may make sense to move to an AI solution or not. There is a lot of pressure from business nowadays to adopt AI solutions and then to also demonstrate their return on investment on AI solutions. There's no doubt about that. I do think in-house lawyers can help clients navigate. Number one, does it make sense to have an AI solution to solve a particular challenge or problem? Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. Maybe there's something else or another technology that you can use, which is not AI focused to solve that problem. So I think there is sort of like a sounding board, opportunity where in-house lawyers can play that role to their clients. I do think the way they could also help their clients is to develop some sort of a matrix or understanding as to making sure that if you're going to go ahead with an AI solution, have some sort of protocol to determining and evaluating that AI provider, right? In terms of, trust. I like to think our 6 responsible AI principles may be sort of a framework which customers or other folks could use to help evaluate that, and they can get into that detail. I do think there's also opportunities for in-house lawyers to help their clients develop some thoughtful internal practices and policies as to how you go and not just evaluate an AI provider, but like what if you're using an AI solution, what are some of the rules of the road, right? And to try to flesh that out, and whatever practices and policies you put together on the AI front, you have to recognize that they have to evolve over a period of time. It's not like you can just put together practices or policies for AI and then it's going to be done. This whole area is going to be evolving and changing. So I think there is a opportunity for in-house lawyers to help clients sort of clarify those policies and practices. And then I think an opportunity for in-house lawyers to identify to business clients how to use these tools in a thoughtful and responsible fashion. What are the applicable use cases? If there are more sensitive use cases associated with AI, perhaps you should have a process that you create. Maybe you identify somebody in the business who's a chief AI officer or a responsible AI lead, and perhaps they can put together a process for evaluating use cases for AI which may be riskier. As an example, of course, Microsoft being a very large company, we have our own chief responsible AI officer. Her name is Natasha Crampton, and we have a whole team of folks and a process for evaluating use cases which may be risky and which we want to be very careful and not releasing out to the marketplace until we've done some deeper and intensive reviews. And there's been times where, quite frankly, we have not put together or developed more riskier and sensitive use cases for our AI solutions because that solution wasn't ready or enterprise ready, right? Or might have created some challenges regarding the law. So I think you just want to be I think there's lots of opportunities for lawyers to help business clients navigate through this space. And I would encourage lawyers not just to have their legal cap when they're thinking on how to evaluate their clients, but to be sort of very broad in this role, because the reality is this world in the AI space is changing. The regulatory landscape is changing. It's a little like the Wild West. It's changing geographically, sectorally. And so I would encourage lawyers to really sort of be bold and sort of thinking how they can best serve their clients when it comes to AI solutions.
The Another interesting point is and I think you've kind of touched on it tangentially here, but you're actually selling Microsoft to some extent to in-house clients in the market, right? They're an enterprise user of Microsoft, and here's how you can integrate Microsoft and Copilot into your practice. How's that experience been? Have you enjoyed that, being on the front, it's from sales enablement to being on the front line? How's that worked out?
Well, as our CEO, Satya Nadella, likes to say, everybody's a seller, right? And also, as our executive VP for our sales teams, his name is Judson Altoff. He likes to say about how we have to sell to every room in the house at our customer, right? And so, our leadership in the Microsoft legal department, coupled with our business team's leadership, is very keen on Microsoft lawyers helping our salespeople evangelize our AI solutions. And so we're out there when needed to try to unblock concerns or issues that our customers may have in using our AI solutions, whether it's privacy or other issues. And so myself and my teammates are actively having conversations trying with legal and compliance leaders at our customers, trying to unblock those issues and concerns and having lawyer to lawyer conversations. And we're also out there very actively demonstrating how we're using Copilot in the legal department at Microsoft. And we find that a lot of our customers and their legal and compliance team, they like that. They like to hear from the Microsoft legal department as to what we're doing, and they find that to be very credible. So to the extent that we can help our salespeople in sort of a business development role, a unique business development role, it's something that we did several years ago with regard to cloud solutions, and a lot of concerns customers had 7 or 8 years ago regarding data privacy, data security concerns. And it's sort of a similar motion that we're playing now in this era of AI. And so I enjoy doing that. I think it's another way of value that we can provide to our Microsoft clients and to Microsoft. And so anything which we could do to help drive AI consumption and usage and revenue with our customers and partners is something that we want to do. And we work very closely with our clients doing that. And it's sort of a unique and sort of fun part of our role, if
Yeah.
you will. Yeah.
Yeah, I would think so. Very unique and very unique to the sector, legal sector. So I just want to move on to the people, the human equation part of things here. I know we spent a lot of time talking about AI, and Microsoft, again, without doubt, is a very innovative company. So having an innovative legal department is a must-have, and Microsoft as well acknowledged as having an extremely innovative legal department. How does that culture of innovation at Microsoft seep into legal? And you as a leader, how are you sort of instilling that with your teams, with the way you're thinking about improving, the interaction between people, process, and tech, which is really at the core of innovation?
Well, I mean, I'll say a few things. I think part of it starts with this notion of embracing change. We hear this phrase that change is the only constant. There's been a lot of change at Microsoft, especially in the Satya Nadella era in the last 14 years, and we're going to see more and more change. And so I think a key part of this, and this is something we've learned from Satya, from Brad Smith, and our other senior leaders, is we want a workforce and group of lawyers and legal professionals who feel comfortable in dealing with change and navigating through change, dealing with ambiguity. We want lawyers and legal professionals who work very closely with each other and share information and knowledge and collaborate and use our tools like Microsoft Teams to share best practices and learnings. We want our lawyers and legal professionals to be bold in their legal advice. We want them to embrace smart risk taking and the art of smart risk taking. We want them to be curious. We also want our lawyers and legal professionals to move with as much speed as possible. And that's something which we see in the field and working with our sales folks is that we got to move with a sense of urgency in everything which we do. But I think this ability to be sort of a learn it all culture, which is something which Satya really instilled upon Microsoft 14 plus years ago when he became CEO. He wants all of us to not be know-it-alls, but to learn it all if you can and embrace learning. And I know it's sort of a cliche, but that's important. That's important to our culture. We're also grounded in this notion of inclusivity. It's our view that the highest performing teams are the ones which are more inclusive in nature. We want to make sure that our legal teams, that our sales teams, that our engineering teams are also reflective of the inclusivity and diversity of our customers and partners. That's very important. And as we continue to grow this high performance culture, we also want to be able to make sure that we're creating the right psychological safety, if you will, with our teammates, where we feel comfortable that we could be open and honest with them, that we can share constructive and meaningful feedback with them, that we're also open to receiving constructive and meaningful feedback, from our teammates as needed. It's a very bi-directional sort of a philosophy, as well as being open and listening to our customers and partners as to how we can improve, right? So I think what it comes down to, at least from our perspective, is this notion of constant learning and embracing change, right? And so, and to me, for any in-house lawyer, I say this to a lot of younger lawyers, whether they're in-house lawyers, whether they're in law school or they're going to be working for a law firm or working in the public sector, I do think in this era of AI and vast and very quick technological change, an important skill set for all lawyers is this notion of embracing change and not being fearful of change and figuring out how can you use technology as sort of your best friend and to put technology to work for you so that so you could deliver higher quality services to your clients and hopefully get out of some of the more routine and mundane and repetitive tasks that lawyers have done for a long period of time and do even more higher value work for your clients.
Do you notice, I mean, we have a generational shift underway. Do you think that, and I think coupled with this AI revolution that we're in the midst of and they're in the early innings, do you think that the sector and the structure of the sector is going to be fundamentally changed by AI and the way that, say, a junior lawyer starting out in their career, the work they do is going to look much different and they're going to work in much different ways, in 25 or 30 years?
From my own perspective, I think 10, 15 years, I think it's going to be very different. I do. I think it's going to be different. I think, to the extent that you have younger junior lawyers who are so skilled in being able to use leading technology and knowing how to maneuver with that technology and use that to their advantage. I mean, I see it with my 13-year-old son, right? And how he's gaming and how he's using AI tools to do some of his schoolwork, right? And so how he's using technology and tools to sort of shape his thinking. And so I do think the legal profession, as well as the business is going to really evolve and change dramatically over the next 10 or 15 years as we get deeper in this era of AI. And I just think it's important for all of us to get started in using these tools if we already haven't started using these tools. To my point earlier, you want to start using them so that you're not left behind and figure out how do you use them to better serve your clients and to hopefully give you back some time to do other important work. And it may be just also giving back time, not just to do more mission critical work, but to give back time for you to focus on your wellness or to do what you want to do. I think we got to think about other opportunities to leverage technology to better serve our clients and to better serve us personally. And to the extent that you feel more comfortable in using that technology, you're going to be in a better position. I think you're going to be in a better position from a career perspective and providing better value and impact to your clients. So it's something which you want to get started doing now. But there's no doubt that, and I learn a lot from our younger lawyers at Microsoft, right, regarding how they're using Copilot. I remember when we rolled out Microsoft Teams 6 or 7 years ago. I remember learning from them as to how they're using Teams and posting on Teams and really using Teams as a deep collaboration tool, right? And so we got to be able to be open to learning from everybody.
Yeah, it's such an iterative process, right? I mean, that's AI. It's iteration personified, and never fully kind of baked product, right? It's really rapidly changing. If you look at the application, how people use it and are able to use it in over a number of months, it's just changing so quickly. Dennis, I'm going to wrap with one more question, which I notice on your LinkedIn posts, which I do enjoy. You are a big baseball fan, and I can see in the background, and I'm guessing based on where you grew up, you're a Yankees fan. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah, I'm a hardcore Yankees fan.
Okay.
The last few days have been a little tough because one of the Yankees' premier
Yeah,
players,
Soto.
Juan Soto,
Yeah.
signed with the New York Mets, and of course,
Yeah.
many years the New York Mets was like the younger brother of the New York Yankees. Now maybe the case that the New York Mets are the older brother of the New York Yankees. We'll see what happens, but yeah.
Well, I think we're all hoping for a Subway Series, maybe next year, right? I think it would have been great. But anyway, I didn't want to bring that up, the Soto move today, in terms of sensitivities. But if you were to think of what a legal department, what position on a team would you have the legal department be? What do you think their position is?
On the baseball field, I would definitely say catcher. When you look at a baseball team, I think having a catcher behind home plate who's handling the pitcher and is sort of, to use another sports analogy, maybe the quarterback on the baseball field, to use a football analogy. That catcher is really the backbone of that team which goes on the field. And I do believe that the best legal departments are sort of the catchers, if you will, of business teams, making sure that they're engaged in smart risk taking, they're focused on compliance, sort of doing the right thing with their customers and partners. And so I look at really all legal departments. They should have sort of a catcher's mindset, if you will, from a baseball field perspective. Yeah, definitely catcher.
Yeah. And if you had to have one player in history, doesn't have to be from the Yankees, as your general counsel, who would it be? It doesn't have to be a catcher either.
Okay, that's a good question. I'll say two. I'll say two folks. I mean, I'm going to be dating myself with this first ball player. His name was Thurman Munson.
Okay.
He was a famous catcher back a long time ago, back in the 20th century. He was a great catcher for the Yankees. He was also the captain of the Yankees. He was one of those guys who was like sort of a tough person, but he was an incredible clutch player. He would always, if he's playing catcher, he would throw a base runner out at second base or always get a key hit when the Yankees needed it. He was like their leader and their captain. The second one I would say too is another former captain of the New York Yankees, and that's Derek Jeter. And, when you look at Derek Jeter, he played shortstop for the Yankees. He might have not been sort of the best player during his era, but he was solid. He was a solid baseball person all around. And he was another player who always came through in the clutch when the Yankees needed him to get a big hit or to have a great play. As shortstop, he was always dependable, consistent, and very resilient. And that's when I think of Thurman and when I think of Derek Jeter, oftentimes these guys weren't injured. And part of it, why they weren't injured, is I think they took care of themselves very well, but they were also able to fight through sort of the tough times. And the ultimate team players, and they were willing to sacrifice their bodies for the betterment of the team, right? And so anyhow,
yeah. Oh, great answer. Great answer. I put you on the spot there, but I knew you'd. I know. I can tell you're a big fan, so I knew you'd have a good answer. So
that's one of my favorite questions of all time, Andrew. So thank you.
Okay, fantastic. One of my favorite questions to ask too, because I'm a baseball fan myself and grew up playing a lot of baseball pretty competitively till I was about 16, 17. So, well, we'll wrap there, Dennis. It's been a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you so much for joining our podcast. We'd love to have you back. And we'll be putting on another forum in Chicago next year. So we'd love to have you speak at that too. So thanks again for your time.
Sounds great. Thanks for the opportunity. It was great connecting with you, Andrew, and the rest of your team.
Thank you for tuning in to the Legal Innovation Forum podcast. Stay tuned on our website for the next edition. You can listen to us on all your favorite podcast platforms. Tune in on liforum.co/podcasts.